Hello and welcome to Legacy of Leaders. I'm glad you joined us today. I have a very special guest. His name is Pina, and he works with an organization called Iron Forums. Aaron, welcome. It's good to have you.
It's good to finally be here with you today. Thanks.
Yes, indeed. So tell me about Iron Forums. It's quite a unique organization, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Iron Forums exists because business owners, men in particular, have a tendency to be work addicted, isolated guys who travel around in their careers with a whole bunch of unresolved complex problems, and the result of being isolated from other believers can be really traumatic and challenging on their careers, on their families, and on their faith. And so Iron Forums exists to really help them out with that.
So this is a faith-based organization?
100%. Yes, sir.
So tell me this. I've heard the expression, it's lonely at the top. Does that really describe what you're trying to do and how you're trying to approach it?
Yeah, every time I hear that, my inner teenager stands up and goes, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. And so that's really the thing that we're trying to combat is any guy who's run a business or an organization for long enough understands that it can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be.
I think that's very important because it seems like today the small businessman is just being squeezed.
Sure.
And how do you help them through that process, Aaron?
Well, Iron Forums gathers a group of about 18 to 24 men in a room once a month for breakfast. It's very much out of Acts 2:42, where they gather together for the breaking of bread, for fellowship, and for talking about the teachings of Jesus. And so that's what these guys are going to do. And they're going to gather together from about 7:30 in the morning till lunchtime. They're going to think out loud about some business and leadership content, some metrics, but they're going to find that fellowship. They're going to find that wise counsel among each other. And for about the last 2.5 hours of the day, they're going to sit down in groups of 5 and dial into a 10-minute self-assessment that helps them to have accountability about their intimacy with Jesus, first and foremost, their marriage, their parenting, their staff, sales, marketing, and operations, but primarily where are things going with their walk with Jesus. And they're going to have an opportunity to talk about a burning fire that's going on in their life and their business. It may be business. It may be that their 14-year-old kid has gone prodigal and they're trying to figure out how to parent them through that. But it's the kind of thing that's creating noise in the back of their mind that inhibits them from really functioning well at work.
So really what you're trying to do is help them holistically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how does that translate oftentimes for these people? Do you find that they open up quickly because being the boss, you always have to keep that air about you?
Yeah.
Tell me how you help them make that transition to more of a real person.
Inside the heart and mind of any man who's self-aware, who's humble, who's hungry, who's healthy, who's Holy Spirit led, there's a box of problems that they try to compartmentalize. But you and I both know when you leave certain things in a box for long enough, they stink. If you leave certain things in a box for long enough, they rot. And those things, those problems, those issues are creating enough noise in their life that when a guy finds a group of other men that he knows he can trust and have a protected environment to really think out loud with those guys and to really become mutually vulnerable, that sort of vulnerability, that sort of transparency sort of allows that box to be opened and the truth to set them free.
That's neat because I've often thought that there cannot be any accountability without intimacy. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're bringing together a group of gentlemen to develop those intimate relationships so that they can develop accountability.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, tell me this, what is the one thing that you would like our audience to know, and what is the one area that you would like to focus on so that they can understand? And I think it centers somewhere around what the church thinks of your organization. Yeah,
the church really will benefit. I mean, when you think about if we have a guy who's running a business, men in particular, I can only speak for men because I'm a man, and so men in particular are out there running their business, and Satan knows if they can take this one guy out, and sideline him or cause some kind of a scandal or some kind of failure in his life, then his family suffers, his business suffers, his church suffers, his community suffers. Likewise, when a pastor or a ministry leader sees a guy that's out there who possesses the 4 H's, he's hungry, he's humble, he's healthy, and he's Holy Spirit led. When a pastor or ministry sees that guy and realizes he may be isolated from other business owning believers, and he's willing to refer them to Iron Forums, and we can help that guy walk with him, we can co-labor with him, that's a guy who's going to grow in his faith. That's a guy who's going to grow in his family. That's a guy who's going to grow in his church. And that's a guy who's going to have a ripple effect in his community, in his family, in his church, in his business, and can be more effective for the gospel.
Well, I think what you're really trying to say in essence is that you're kind of a parachurch ministry and ministering to people.
Absolutely.
Aaron, thank you so much for being here with us
My
today.
pleasure, Chuck. Thank you so much for having us on here.
My pleasure. And thank you for joining us at Legacy of Leaders. We're glad you joined us and hope you'll be back with us next time.